We'll follow after it.
No, fine. I think the end around this is like greedy and corrupt. It's something that you get used to it. There are some people who think that by virtue of being in a particular position, especially those who use ANC position to advance their interest, they are always quick to make such kind of baseless, unfounded allegations. That ordinary member is saying something that he was told by someone. This kind of a continuous vilification, the character assassination. That person is part of the minority in terms of this conference. The majority of delegates in this conference have a different view. It would be easy for you to balance that view of that member, of that delegate, with other delegates. But the only thing that I know, I'm not that. I'm certain about it. I know I've been tested to the limit. All shenanigans have been tried on this issue, and I remain resolute. And I know exactly who I am. I don't need someone to tell me who I am. I know what I can do. I know what I cannot do. I always ask a question that municipalities have got accounting officers, departments have got accounting officers, MECs, etc. So sometimes it's better when you say there is an MEC that says that Mabuyane has issued an instruction to me to do A, B, C, D, and E. When you hear that from an ordinary fellow that is out there on street, you must take it as just part of the kind of a public vilification because of politics. So that is driven purely by political interest. Actually, the other perspective the person was supporting are people who are in government. Those are better people who can give you any details around that. Is there any detail around this particular specific allegation? So I take it as a hogwash, nonsense and rubbish. Part of those things that are always trying to distract as you work and do your work. I've been there for 8 hours, for 8 years in that office. From the day one, I've heard about this man at some point that the Hawks were busy behind me. He's written in a social network. I've been waiting for them until today. So watertight conference. Indeed, comrades, this was a watertight conference, but we've learned to accept that highly contested conference of the ANC, and you would never know the conference if it's contested up until you accept the nomination. So we didn't know whether the conference is contested or not, because we didn't know whether we have been nominated or not, up until we were told that we were nominated. And unfortunately, by that time, others were not here. So it was just unfortunate. We are from a conference. The first conference I was elected in, it was 2009, in the area called, it's a church called the River Park. We didn't finish the conference where it started. We were street kids here at Oxford. We finished it elsewhere because it was a very tightly contested conference. So this behavior of ANC people when they feel like losing or when they lose conference, they behave as if ANC is only about them or nothing. So they are the only better, credible people to lead the ANC. It's a very flawed way of thinking in the ANC. It's something that we comrades must outgrow. When you talk about political maturity, you don't expect someone to behave in that way. When you talk about political maturity of comrades. No case is a man who wants to control ANC in the Eastern Cape. And he's desperate for that. And he's not hiding that. He talks to everyone about it. Hello, Susan. No, he's not hiding that to all of us, because he's our friend. He talks to us. No, you see, that man, he was telling that man that he's going to employ him as a principal of a certain economic school in Tsolo because I'm an economist by training. So therefore I can fit in well in that school because I must move out of this office of Provincial Secretary. I'm really troubling him. So that man is behaving like that. But that behavior is always informed by, I would say, greed and interest to control the ANC. We know when his friends or particular grouping of people leading the ANC in the OR Tambo at some point were in charge of those municipalities, he was not behaving like this loose cannon. But unfortunately, when the ANC membership decide to elect people whom he doesn't feel comfortable, at some point he was my friend. I don't know where did I lost touch with him because he was very supportive of me, but I picked up on the way that hey, I'm no longer a favorite candidate. So he's behaving very like that, very, I don't know how to explain, but something like that, that's him, that's him. That's why he was here in the morning. I was asking him, are you a sheriff as well? The last time I checked, you are an advocate. If you are an advocate, I'm not sure. But are you also delivering these papers yourself? You see the level of desperation in him. At 6 a.m. he was here delivering those papers. We're taking papers from him. I'm not dramatizing this. The skirmish last night, we took the decision to continue. The conference, it's a decision of the PEC, but in that the PEC works with the National Executive Committee through its deployees. We are supervised. That's the reason why we took a number of decisions as a province to say, National, handle these decisions for us because we feel like we are contaminated and we might not be objective in addressing these problems. So at a particular point, when we were reaching that state of paralysis, National had to come in, and they had to provide leadership in that, and to tell us that this is a conference of the ANC, it must continue. Because the national leaders who were there saw that this has been a deliberate attempt from the day one to make this conference not to sit. With all the other theories that are out there that I'm not going to talk about. But there's been that desperation to have this conference collapsing. So if it doesn't collapse, it must go to court. Hence, we have been talking about interdict throughout the week. We've been expecting this interdict throughout the week. It's not something that is shocking us when it came this morning. So that behavior has been there. It can't turn against us. It's only the National Executive Committee that can discuss this conference. It's not the PEC. If there are some people of the PEC who are meeting elsewhere, definitely they are meeting without a secretary and a deputy secretary and about 18 members of that PEC. So you can't call those people PEC. So you can just call them as a fraction of the PEC. So it's something else. So definitely, it cannot turn against us. We cannot legitimize us if there is a question on the legitimacy of this, but the national will definitely receive a report and go through. In the Eastern Cape, we have experienced these things where you have got two conferences. People behave very strange simply because they're just desperate for power. They do all these kind of funny tricks, etc. The conference of the ANC was here, formally and officially. You were invited to ICC yourselves. To see you at the City Hall, we were doing something that I don't know. Yourselves. If something could happen to you at City Hall whilst you have been sent to come here by your bosses, you can really be accountable. Because you were invited to come here at ICC by the ANC, isn't it? Oh, yeah. So stop behaving funny. Thank you.
All right. We have other questions. So the leadership was going to.
Can I just talk to one?
Yeah.
Whether we are expecting the same or similar action in PGC when somebody asked when we have a PGC or in the national conference, whether we're expecting the same. I think we've grown to understand that it's now common knowledge that you can expect anything in these conferences. But I think what is important is what the chairperson just said, that you just have to put processes that are watertight. Because if you do that, at least you have a leg to stand on when you are done. And but I think it hinges, to me, on how do we position ourselves as this PEC going forward after this conference. The chairperson spoke about extending an olive branch. So all that behavior of dealing with our conferences in the same fashion depends on the positioning of these officials, the PEC, in its totality going forward. If we follow what the chairperson is saying, then we should have a smooth PGC. We should have a smooth national conference. But that one we can't control. But I'm saying, if we follow what he's saying, we shouldn't be having that problem. But if we become hostile and still live in the conference that is here 2 months down the line, then we definitely will be expecting a similar situation. So that's how I could perhaps just talk to that question. Thank you.
Thank you, leadership.
Yes. Thank you, Comrade Mvogo. Your question is, tomorrow is Monday. Tomorrow is Monday, and what will happen to the former leaders? Former leaders are former leaders; they are not the current leadership. Yesterday, before the elections happened, part of the processes of the conference is that the conference adopts what is called credentials. After the adoption of the credentials, the leadership that was presiding over the conference is dissolved. The former PEC was dissolved. So there is nothing like collective leadership from the past. Now, tomorrow, there is a new leadership, and it will take the responsibility of the ANC between now and the next 4 years. I think that's where we can stand in respect of that particular matter. I can just venture a little bit on Nochesi, because the provincial chairperson mentioned him. We have ran 14 cases against him, both the main cases and applications for interdicts, and he lost all those particular cases because they were hatched on the basis of malice. That's why ANC does not even think about those cases. It just goes for it and win them. We're going to win even tomorrow's judgment case, because there is no other alternative. Because if he was successful, he could have interdicted as per his plans at the current conference. Other than that, we are not worried about him. He is part of the society. He is serving his interest. Of course, we cannot be sure about his interest, but we suspect that his interests are part of the counter-revolutionary interests that are happening throughout South Africa to destabilize the African National Congress. There is no one who can fight the ANC in 14 consecutive cases, including interdicts about the conference of the ANC, and that particular individual thinks progressively in respect of ensuring that the ANC proceeds from where it is currently. But it's something that we are monitoring, his behavior. We suspect something fishy is happening about him, but we will follow up as the organization. We are not happy about how he pursues the organization. Do you want to venture on that?
Just lastly, on the question that was asked on the issue of corruption, greed, and other allegations, we always call upon any member of the society that has evidence of any corrupt activity to come and report those to the law enforcement authorities. Therefore, if the member that you spoke to, Oli, is then or has the information, we will welcome that he goes and open a case, and then of course those that are accused will go and face their music. who took the decision to continue with the conference. This is a provincial conference, and therefore the only people that can convene and reconvene the provincial conference is the National Executive Committee, like it happened even yesterday after the scuffle. We were all taken out, and then we had to be called to come back because the conference is proceeding. All of us, including those that are not here, actually, in terms of the officials and the former spokesperson. So we were convened by the National Executive Committee members. Hence, you saw them presiding over the conference. Ladies and gentlemen, no follow-up. No. I'm still the chair here. And I had said that's the last bite. The round that we had, there's not going to be any last one on the chairperson or Nobala. He has responded to everything. I think he's...
When is the province likely to pronounce on its preferred candidate?
When the province has engaged and came to a decision, we will definitely call you and let you know that this is our preference. For now, we're still busy with our organizational issues, and then after that, we definitely say we want Koli to lead us, or we want Isaac to. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Actually, there was a motion in the
Sorry, Chair. Can we?
There was a motion in plenary which was supported, but that is left with the leadership to process. We are working with other leaders from other provinces to save the ANC. I don't think we would want to see what we saw here taking place in the national conference. So with our experience, we'll definitely bring something better to make it a point that we avoid any occurrence of this nature. So the delegates here expressed that feeling on the deputy president, the base on the how the ANC has been actually handling the issues of succession since the previous years. I think it's a matter of principle. So we will discuss it at an appropriate time in the PEC, processing that motion. We will let you know, but we will engage other provinces. We're not going to have our position as a province. Here we talk about issues of national interest. It's not just about a certain province, it's about saving ANC. ANC is definitely feeling the pain, is definitely bleeding. We must definitely find a way to salvage the ANC. So all of us, we must put our hands on the deck to ensure that we contribute positively and productively for the ANC to have another 10 years in government, in charge of government of this country. But if we'll all be reckless, I can tell you, we will kiss and say goodbye.
Thank you, colleagues. Let's give Isaac, because Koli did come. Isaac, you have the last
Just a last one, Nobala. As chairman, as Nobala, you had a full-time job.
Yeah.
And you grew. You were paid as being a Nobala. Now you're gonna be a chairman. You're not gonna have a salary. Are you gonna maybe look for a redeployment?
Where do you take that from?
No.
ANC still has to pay me for the next couple of months. I've signed a contract with the ANC. So when you're secretary, you're the only person who signs a contract, which gives...
I have employed him.
Oh.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and definitely after our first meeting, we will then convene and then give you whatever that is needed that we would have discussed and processed thoroughly.
But
Thank you so much.
Guys, I think let's really express our sincere word of gratitude. You have been wonderful, even though sometimes you go beyond parameters. You go to City Hall where we don't know. But other than that, guys, it has been wonderful to have you around here. We've been quite, with Poli, etc., doing all these things that he has been doing here. We are quite happy. safe trip or travel message back home, comrades. Thank you very much.
Wonderful to be put in the 14th when the action is
I'm a cadre, bahambe thina siyasibabina. Ningatshintshi ne kube ngala hlobo.
Those are live visuals of a press conference held by the newly elected Eastern Cape leadership in East London, seemingly very jovial despite the violence that left 8 hospitalized during the conference, saying that the voting had to continue based on the desperation to mar the conference as well as the decision of the NEC.